Good afternoon. Thank you so much for joining. I see people are logging on. As you come in, drop your name in the chat box and tell me where you're from and what church you're with. That also will enter you into our giveaway, and I'm going to share that here in just a few minutes. So go ahead. Let me see who the first person is. Put your name, your church name in the chat box. Tell me where you're from. That enters you for the giveaway. So we're excited about that. Today's webinar is going to be a really good one. I'm excited about this. We have 3 topics that we'll cover just like we did in episode 1. Let's see. I see Adam Langston's here. Hey, Adam. Casey Marsh is here. See Kim from Crossroads. Hey, Alan from Alpharetta. Ooh, we've got a good group. We've got Michael Carter, Shirley. So, hey guys, we're glad that you are here. Excited to walk through today. All right, let's get started. I'm Jennifer. I'm with Upward Sports. Also, I'll introduce our expert, our panelist for today's topic here shortly. So we'll get to know him. As you're coming on, I see more people joining in. Last time in the chat box, put your name, your church name. That enters you to win our giveaway. And I'll tell you what that giveaway is in just a minute. Also, as you have questions, we will cover questions at the end of today's webinar. Put those in either the chat box or the question and answer box, either place. I'll watch both of them, and we will try to get to as many of those as we can. Let's get started. Today's episode is episode 2. We're talking about how do we inspire our volunteers and host a successful coach training. If you've been following us on this journey, it is a 4-part series. Last episode, we talked about how do we get the word out? How do we advertise? Hopefully this is following you along into your basketball and cheerleading league that's coming this winter. So right now, episode 2, you should be right around inspiring your volunteers, finding those coaches, getting ready for coach training. So that's super exciting. Let me introduce you to our panelists today. You'll see him on here. Joel, welcome. Joel's been with Upward Sports for 9.5 years. And Joel is our director of market research, content, and our creative team. So welcome, Joel. We're glad you're here.
Thanks. It's good to be here.
So as we walk through, if you have questions, Joel will help us answer things at the end for sure. So I see Davey. It looks like we have, let's see who else, Michael Carter. So we're excited about that. Let's get started. All right, our 3 topics we're going to cover today. 1, we're going to talk about how do we inspire our volunteers. Number 2, we're going to talk about how do we host a meaningful Upward coach training. We're also going to highlight a few resources in there. And then number 3, Joel's going to demo our Upward Sports coach app for us, as well as give us a few tips and tricks and how to navigate through. So I hope you're excited about that. So as you have questions, add them in to the bottom of today. All right, let's talk about how do we inspire our volunteers and coaches. Maybe you are a first-year league director on here, or maybe you are a seasoned league director that's been doing this for multiple years and you have a lot of volunteers. And maybe you're in this season where you're really stuck or a lull of how to retain these volunteers, how to recruit them. So Joel, share with us ways that you see, you're a league director yourself, that you see league directors around the country inspire their coaches.
Yeah, Jennifer, there are 4 or 5 things that come to mind when you think about inspiring coaches. And I think the one that is at top of mind for me and with other league directors I've talked to is that you have to serve your volunteer team. You have to serve your coaches. And so you want to take care of them as they're the front lines of ministry for your league. So you're there serving them. You're making sure they have the resources that they need, that balls are inflated for practice, that their uniforms are there, they have access to practice plans. So you want to take care of and serve those partners. I think another thing would be specific to coaches and even game day volunteers is that you should visit them just stop in at practice or be there on a game day. That doesn't mean you have to be at every practice or every game day, but you want to be seen. I've talked to several coaches who will say, I didn't even have my league director come by over the course of the season. I don't know who he is. I couldn't tell you who he is. And I hope that's not true in those instances, but you want to make sure you visit practice and let them know that you care about what they're doing. And I think that's what helps to send that message, is when you come and see what they're doing. I think another way would be to send an email or a text message and be personal with it. You want to call them by name. It's good, and there are appropriate times to send a big group message to all of your coaches, right? And so you want to take the time, and maybe it's over the course of the season, pick 3, 4, 5 coaches every week and just send them a quick text or an email, ask how they're doing, ask if there are things that you can do to help their coaching experience. And so you're taking the time to be personal and connect with them. I think the fourth thing would then be to ask their opinion. And so everybody likes to give their opinion, right? And in my role in market research, I get to see everybody's opinion. So I get thousands of pieces of information with all different kinds of opinions. And that's important. Like, coaches want to be heard. And so give them the opportunity to share their opinion. Show them that you are interested in what they see, because you're not at every practice or engaged with the families in the way that they are. And so if you ask their opinion, you show you value them, and you get some insight into the league and what's going on. I think the fifth thing would be a phrase that we've borrowed from somewhere else, and I've heard other people use, is surprise and delight. And so small gestures go a long way. And so that might mean when you have your coaches sign up at the start of the year or volunteer at the start of the year, that you might sneak a question in there that asks them what their favorite candy bar is. And so at some point during the season, you show up to practice and you've got the Snickers bar or Kit Kat, whatever it is, and they go, oh, wow. It's not just a generic way to show that you appreciate them, but it's a specific way, and it doesn't have to be big. People appreciate just being recognized. So I think those are 5 things that I would take on as a league director, is try and do those over the course of the season that would inspire your volunteers.
I love those. I think those are great. As a coach myself, I will never forget 2 years ago opening up. We had a coach basket at the end, and I thought that was really great. And I opened it up, but there was a handwritten note from the league director, and it was not a generic note of like, hey, thanks for serving, see you next year. It literally was like, I enjoyed X, Y, and Z of watching you coach, like being able to say you were intentional with the children. When you covered a devotion on anger, for example, you really pointed that out. And I thought that was really impressive, that our league director had to spend time to see what I was doing and showed me that it was important. It really made me want to coach the next season, because I felt valued and seen. So I love those 5 key ways. Let me ask you this question, Joel. What if you're a first-year league director, and I see people on here, they may be a first-year league director, or they're adding a new sport for the first time, and they're saying, oh, this is really great, Joel. I love that you've given us 5 ways to inspire our coaches, but hey, bud, I don't have any coaches yet. I'm just getting started. How would you tell them to find these coaches?
Yeah, really good question. And I think too, as a first year league director, you can get nervous or anxious and say, well, man, I've only got 6 of the 10 coaches or 12 of the 20 I need. And that's okay. I don't think that you'll have a time where you come into the season where you have all of your coaches set before you take registrations. And so I think one tip would be okay with not having everybody in place when your registration opens. The best time to recruit and find coaches takes place after registration opens. The first one is when parents register their player. And so there's a box in there that you can check and have parents volunteer to or apply to volunteer as a coach or referee. And so that's the kind of the first step. The second area would be at player evaluations. And so when you are there, when you have your player evaluations, you want to make sure it's organized, that it's detailed, that if there's a line, volunteers aren't panicking and saying, oh, hey, what are we going to do with this line? Like put on a happy face, greet people. And at that point, as parents are coming in and they're checking their player in, ask them, hey, would you be interested in applying to coach?
Mm-hmm.
And in most cases, people will at least consider it, right? And in several cases, you'll find somebody who will say, a mom or dad will say, yeah, I didn't know you need coaches. So you have to make that need known. We do some parent surveys, and 48% of the people who did not volunteer in the league said that they would take on a role if they were asked. And a good number of those would apply to be an assistant coach if you let the need be known. So have those things in hand, coach applications, kind of your pitch to what you need, and ask. You just got to ask at that time. And evaluations, player registrations are the two key times to find those coaches.
I love that. And so you heard it here. If you're looking to start a new sport, or you're starting a sports ministry for the first time, don't panic and think you have to fill every position with coaches. Have a couple of people and be ready to ask, and have the big ask them to coach. So their life will not be the same, for sure. My last question in this section of how we're inspiring our coaches and our volunteers. You and I talk about this a lot, and we talk about how our coaches want to be part of something. They don't, yes, they're volunteers, but they have a very important role. They need to have this ownership, and they need to take this ownership, that they are designed for this, that they are on the front lines. They are ministering to these families. But how do we help them understand that they're part of this mission, and that we create this, I don't know if we call it a tribe atmosphere, Joel, but we create this atmosphere that says, I want to be a part of that. I want to help coach because that looks fun, but it's a bigger mission for me, and I want to be a part of that. How do we create that atmosphere?
Yeah, I think that's a really good question. You want, as a league director, at the end of the season, you want your coaches to say something like, I had a lot of fun, I learned, I grew spiritually, and I want to do this again. I became a better person even for having spent time coaching in this league. And so, you want to think of in how you talk with, you want to think about your volunteers, let them know that they are more than just a volunteer. They're not there just to plug a hole in a schedule. They're there to serve with you. And so one of the things that, Jennifer, you said was they're on the front lines. And that's the reality. Like, they are the front lines of your ministry. They're the ones that parents interact with weekly, multiple times a week once games start. And so help them to understand, you're the front line of ministry. You're important to what we're doing here. Share why you're doing what they're doing so that they can have ownership in the sports ministry. Help them to feel part of that team. I think a piece of that is you're retaining coaches to stay. And so you're doing these 5 things here to help them stay from season to season. And once you retain coaches, you spend less time having to recruit coaches. You get those coaches that are really good and are inspired by what you do because you're organized and detailed. Those are the coaches that are going to go and recruit other coaches to help you in your sports ministry. So help them to see, like, this is a big picture. We're a team of coaches here. We're all working together to serve the community. And so help them understand that big picture. Give them some buy-in to what they're doing by using these, the 5 ways to inspire them. And then understand, hey, quality coaches, go out and find some other people that can join you in this. In this ministry, help them to understand that it's really an outreach to the community.
Absolutely. So quality coaches help find other quality coaches. So that's really, really important. Let's move to our second topic of the day, and it's how to host a meaningful upward coach training. And that brings me to our giveaway here of what it's going to be today. We are going to talk a little bit about a new feature that we have available to you. And so today our giveaway is a free, it's valued at $450, coach and referee virtual training by Upward Sports. So if you haven't put your church name in, now's the time. I saw people jump on. just a few minutes ago. So that's what the giveaway is the virtual referee and coach training customized by Upward Sports. We'll talk more about that here in a few minutes, but now let's talk about our coach training, how you're doing it. So whether you're a first-year league director, a seasoned league director, you want to set expectations that coach training is mandatory, that what needs to be happened is happened. Also, you want coaches to be a part. You're creating this environment where they're like, oh, I have to go get my roster there. But they're like, I want to go. I want to be a part of this experience, this atmosphere. So we're going to talk about how we make it meaningful, but also how do we even line up our coach training? What does the day look like? So we're going to walk through that. So Joel, share with us how you feel we can make our coach training meaningful for our coaches and volunteers.
Yeah, it's a really good question. I think the key thing is it starts before you actually have your coach training. And what that means is you're organized and detailed on the front end so that as parents start to ask you questions about the upcoming season, you already have that date and time set. So that if somebody says, oh man, I've coached before, I'd love to apply to coach, you can say, coach training is November 4th at 8:30 a.m. at this church, and it'll last approximately 60 minutes. You're going to learn these 3 things. What do you think about coaching? Like now you've got your coach, right? So you start before that event occurs by having the information in hand so that you can share with people as they start to ask about the league and as they start to register. That ties into promoting your kind of your key dates ahead of time. So you have those dates in mind. And I would think too, this is a tricky one. You probably want to limit the number of coach training events that you have to probably 1. And here's the reason why. Even if you have 2 or 3 or 4, people are still going to miss. And so you have to be okay with a few people that won't be able to attend for legitimate reasons. If you have 1 date, that shows them that this is the important date. You should be here. We really need you to be here. We need you to buy into what we're doing. And so have a single date in mind. And just understand not everybody will be able to make it. Now, depending on where you are, your community is, and kind of all kinds of situations there, you might have to have a Saturday and a weekday night. But I would start off by having 1 date and see what people, how people respond to that. You can always add another one if you have to. When parents register online, the volunteer link is there for them to use. And so you have that link ready. When they check that they want to apply to coach, that information goes right into my Upward. Follow up with them, ask them questions, be okay with letting coaches know this is an application, not a guarantee. And so there are times where coaches might have to be an assistant coach rather than a head coach, but have those conversations, whether it's in person or email, because they're going to check that box and let you know that they want to apply. So I think that's important. You have everything ready to go on your training day. So you want to be organized. As it says here, you only get 1 chance to make a first impression. So you have their coach rosters ready. You could have their team box there for them. You could make sure the PowerPoint is ready, that you've got electricity in the room, that the projector works. You've got pens there for coaches. You've got paper if they want to take notes. You've got coffee and snacks. There are all kinds of things to do that show you expected them. I remember a long time ago, somebody said about coach training, you want to act as though you knew company was coming. Like you're prepared for them. It's not just they showed up at the door and you go, oh, I'm surprised there are people here. You're not surprised because you've been organized and detailed. You shared the date and time and location. And now you've got everything that they would need to help them feel relaxed and ready to learn. They need to be in an atmosphere where they can step from the outside world and step into what you're wanting to share with them that day at coach training. So do things that make it look fun, make it organized, detailed, and help them to feel like you care about them and you expected them to be there.
And this is not an afterthought. Coach training
Right.
is not like, let's just get it together really fast. This
Yep.
is something that needs, like Joel said, needs to be presented to them ahead of time. They need to be like, this is not like if I want to. This is an exciting time because I'm getting a list of my kids that I'm going to get to love on and minister to. And if you feel that it is an afterthought, they will feel that this is an afterthought. So be very, very, very detailed in that. So Joel, what have you seen in market research as
Mhm.
the ideal day and time of training? What do you see?
Yeah, I think you have to think about when people are available. So a Tuesday at 2:30 is not a good time to hold a coach
No.
training. Ideally, it is probably a Saturday morning, and it's probably earlier in the day, 8 o'clock, 8:30, 9 maybe, or it's in the evening. Probably not on a Friday night, but maybe on a Thursday or a Tuesday. You want to consider too. Some of these coaches are members of other churches. On average, about 52% of coaches attend a different church than where you are. And so you have to think about, well, maybe they have activities on Sunday or on Wednesday. So we're going to avoid Wednesday night. We're probably picking a Tuesday or Thursday evening or a Saturday morning. I've even seen people do Sunday night. But I would say Tuesday, Thursday evening, 7 o'clock gives time for people to get home, have dinner with their family, jump back out, or Sunday morning and knock that out when everybody's first up.
That's great. So let's talk through a coach training. If you know
Mm-hmm.
me, I like to say, okay, from start to finish, let's map out a day of coach training. I'm going to do it on an evening because
Mm-hmm.
I want to keep my Saturday. So I
Mm-hmm.
don't want it to be a Saturday morning. I like a Tuesday evening. So we're going to do that. And if you're on here and you want this afterwards, it's going to come to you in an email. So don't feel like you have to like take tons of notes. So we'll send it to you afterwards. But Joel, let's talk about ideas of a coach
Mm-hmm.
training. What does it look like for us?
Yeah, one of the things that people, including me, want to do with coaches is dump all kinds of information on them, like unload everything so that you have every detail going forward. I think you have to be careful with that because people won't remember everything. I mean, you talk about brain science and what people can remember, and then they jot notes. So if
Mhm.
you can deliver some just-in-time information rather than dump everything all at once, I think that's important. And as part of that, then you're pointing them to where they can find some other resources. We provide a bunch of different tools for you to use and get in coaches' hands. And so you can point them to where they find those resources rather than putting everything on them all at once.
Agree.
And so, we're starting off by setting the stage that this is an exciting time to be together, that we're going to come together to see each other, whether it's in person or live, but we want to be together. We want to hit the ground running. Part of that then is creating a welcoming environment. And so you have dinner maybe, or you have coffee and snacks, depending on the time of day, what you want to serve. So be ready for them because they're going to come right from work having not eaten sometimes. You want to open in prayer because prayer is super important to what we're doing. You want to cast the vision for your sports ministry, meaning here is why we're doing what we're doing. This might be a good time to highlight past coaches and maybe give them an opportunity to talk about success in ministry. This is a good, like, hey, new coaches, listen to existing coaches, listen to how they've been inspired and encouraged and served and the stories they've been able to tell through sports ministry. I think you want to emphasize that the devotion is important. When I've talked to league directors, bottom line is, coaches, we need you to share a devotion or be ready to share a devotion or ask me if you need help. Because there are instances where leagues say, hey, we got the devotions covered. I have somebody who wants to do that. But coaches should be ready to take on that devotion material. There's probably some logistics that you want to cover as part of your training to help them know when they should take breaks for the devotion, when practices start, when it ends, being on time, where they can go for help if they have problems with a
Love that.
parent or a player. So different logistical things like that are important to emphasize. You want to stress the importance of the practice structure And so within their coach playbook, if they're a new coach, it outlines minute for minute. Here's what you need to do. So you want to be organized and detailed, because you don't want coaches, you don't want parents on the sideline going, wow, this is an organized mess. You want parents going, oh, and sit back in their chair and enjoy the time because you're organized and detailed. Big thing is, as a league director, you want to emphasize the circle of affirmation. When I have talked to people who go and coach in other leagues and then come back to an upward league, they emphasize how the circle of affirmation makes the difference for their league. And that basically says, referee makes a call, coach is positively supporting that call, and that sets the example for parents and players to follow. This has to happen. There's zero tolerance for coaches who argue with each other, and you need to lay that down from the start. And if they understand where you are in sports ministry and the stage you've set, that's more of a, yeah, that makes sense, than it is, oh, he's cramping my style or something like that. So emphasize the circle of affirmation.
Mm-hmm.
And then next, you can break up into groups, and those groups could be rookie, new coaches, returning coaches. It could be done by grade level. So maybe all of your second grade coaches are together. That helps them build relationships. It helps them ask questions of each other, and it helps them to see they are a team and not adversaries coaching against each other. They're coaching with each other in this competitive environment to help players have the best experience that they can. And so if you break up into groups, you're going to have a chance to kind of build that community that we talked about before. And then when you close, explain the next steps. A lot of times that is, I'm following up with parents. And so I think one way to get coaches to follow up with parents is to say, by today or by this date at this time, make sure you've contacted all of your parents, whether that's a coach or whether that's a text, an email, coach's phone call, however you decide to do that. But give them a solid date, because otherwise they go, oh, I just knew I was supposed to contact coaches and I didn't get to it for the last 2 weeks. And as a league director, you're going, why am I getting all these phone calls? So make sure you have a date in place set for that. And parents have been waiting to hear from coaches.
I love that. I hope that's helpful to you guys that are on here. So we'll send that out, but this you don't have to incorporate everything.
Yeah.
For me, I love the groups where you're able to break them up and they're able to talk to each other. This is, again, if you want to inspire your coaches, start here. In my opinion, it really helps.
And it can be different, like different every year. You can leave things in, include them. It's your training for your league.
Absolutely. I know there are several other ways that we can use. You can use Zoom. We've talked about that. You can record it. Even you can do face-to-face. We prefer face-to-face. I do, just because it's a great way to build relationships. But Zoom is okay, to do it that way. Let's talk a little bit about the resourcing that Upward Sports offers. So you're on here and you're like, oh my goodness, that is a lot for me to do as a league director to get it ready. Well, we have your back. And so we want to help you with that. So Joel, tell us a little bit about the Upward Sports resources that help a league director get ready for this big day of coach and referee training.
Yeah. So we have, and these are all like, you take them and customize it to be your own. The PowerPoint that we have is important. Customize it, make it your own, put points in there, make sure you review it beforehand so that it has the correct information for your league. We know that leagues modify rules sometimes, and that's okay, but you want to make sure you're communicating the right thing. So have that. If you're using a PowerPoint, make sure you have it ready. If you're a league director, you want to review the league director manual. It has some tips in there about coach training as well. We put new information in there all the time, so make sure you take a look at that so you're up to date on what directors need to share with coaches. You also have a reports area that you can print off rosters from My Upward, and those are usually what a coach is looking for, whether it's the print or the online version. We'll get to that in a minute. I think one thing that's pointed out here too is a coach commissioner. Recruit somebody to help with your coaches, right? And so there's somebody who can go into the resource section, and you can see there's a number of things here that a coach commissioner could, that you can pass to a coach commissioner for them to use to help your coaches. And so there are coach playbooks that include practice plans and devotions and skills and drills. There's all kinds of things that we want to put in the hands of you to share with your coaches so that they're ready. And then the last thing there is the virtual custom coach training. That is an option that you have when you set up your league. Check that box, and then someone from Upward will get in contact with you about conducting that training. And we customize it so that it fits your league. The great thing about the virtual training is sometimes the person from Upward, which is sometimes me, can share some things that you need your coaches to hear that you can't really say. And so we can help with that too. So the virtual training is a good tool to use. So all these resources, whether you're taking them, customizing them, whether you're printing them off or giving them online access, or the virtual training, we're here to help equip you and your coaches so that you can do sports ministry.
Absolutely. And if you're on here and you're thinking of starting a sports ministry, and know that we will help you. One, we, as a first year leader, will walk you through everything. Also, we have a PowerPoint PowerPoint presentation that you can use, like Joel mentioned, but we also have partner support, and they are wonderful. At any point in time you couldn't find something, sometimes I log into my Upward and I'm like, there's so much information, where do I find it? Partner support, you can call and they will help you navigate through it. So I love the resources. We're going to shift now to the coach app. I know that's a big question that people are asking on here. So hang with me. We're going to talk the coach app here for 5 minutes, and then we will shift back to our questions. And then we're going to give away the coach and referee training. I see some good questions, so be ready, Joel, to answer those.
All right.
So let me stop my share, Joel, and then you can share that.
All right. Yeah, we just want to give a brief view of what the coach will see if they use their mobile device for practices and game days. And so you should be able to see that right there. This is the desktop version. Perfect. So this is what a coach, when they log in on their phone, they see this center screen here. Great resources in here. So you have a getting started section, which includes information from the coach playbook. There's also a video on here to show them how to use the coach app. So that's an important piece to let them know about. Team section here where you can manage your roster, and new as of 2 days ago, you can now put in a jersey number for players. So that jersey number they put in flows into my Upward. So with your player introduction report, it'll now include a jersey number in there. Key is have the coaches do that in their first practice. So you manage the roster. You have games here that shows the schedule, so past and upcoming. Same with practices. And then there's a new tab here for special events. So you can set those up when you're in my Upward, setting up your league. So great information here: roster, games, practice schedule, special events. Here is where people are all the time: practice plans. So you have plans, you have devotions by themselves, you have skills and drills videos, and then a rules section. So you can go in here. This is soccer, for example. You can select a topic and find a description, diagrams. There's links to videos in here. So if you have a coach that says, I have no idea how to do this, you can say, hey, check out the skills and drills area. And this is where they go week by week into their practice plan. So it's a breakdown, again, with diagrams, links to videos. The devotion content is included there. So invite your coaches to use these resources. 2 more sections then. The communication area. This is a great spot. You can send email or text. You check the box for who you want to receive that message. You send that off. This is an easy way. We always emphasize to coaches, make sure you communicate with your team. So it's an easy way to do that. And then you have the game day area here. And so, we've got a game coming up. You see the jersey number. I can now go in and assign a position. And so each quarter, if I'm a coach, I prepare ahead of time. And in each quarter, I go in before game day and I fill in the position here. So that way, when players are ready to go onto the field, I'm able to say, hey, Juliet's going to be our defender. Gail's our midfielder. Alec is our left wing. Madison center. Hazen's our right wing. So have them fill those in. That way, they're completely prepared for game day. So all kinds of great tools in there: communication, resources, managing things on game day. should really help to get them through what they need to for the season.
I love it. I hope if you're on here, you see the details that are in here, the practice plans that are in here, the devotions that you're able to see. This is a way that, for me, if you're looking to bring on a coach, this is a great way that helps them not be scared. Hey, this is exactly what we're going to help you with your resourcing. We're going to help you with your devotions. So I just love that. So Joel, share your screen back with me, and then we're going to open for questions. Again, that was an overview of your coach app. If you want us to help you more detailed with that, partner support can walk you through it. We definitely, want to make it easy for you. So let's open for questions. We have several. I want to open, Joel, first with one. And we'll spend 5 minutes here. We have a lot of questions that are here, which is great. I love them. Brian sent this in to me earlier. He said, can coaches access the coach app prior to creating their league in My Upward? Great question.
Really good question. And if I can screen share a minute, I'm going to give everybody a little tip.
Okay,
it used to be that
there you go.
You would send access to coaches, and then we'd hear, wait a minute, my schedule's not done, or the rosters aren't done. And so they're seeing a schedule that's incomplete. We made a little update this week that will now allow you, I'll show you here where to find it. It's going to allow you in My Upward, as you set up your league, here at the bottom in this setup and program information area, you can hide the team roster or hide the schedules. That will then, to answer your question, go ahead and share their access to their team page and let them get a look at the resources. So yes, you can assign them to a team, invite them, and then they can see that, and you don't have to worry about them being able to see the schedule or a roster ahead of time.
It's a great addition. I know that is very, very needed. I see some people here giving a thumbs up, so they're excited about that. Another question we have is, can multiple coaches access the same team in the coach app?
Yeah, so basically you'll send them the invite. Once you do, they will have access to all of the information for that team. So that area that you saw in My Upward, they're going to have access to contact information for parents and players, communication tools, game day, team, getting started. All that will be accessible to the coaches that you invite for that team.
That's great. Here's some other questions. We're going to do them a little rapid fire here. Davey said, can we enter the coach and ref training date into the online form that they fill out in My Upward?
Really good question. Yeah, great question. There is not that capability right now, but really good. So make sure you let Wade know that that's a request you like. But really good. You can put that information on My Upward so that as parents sign up for the league, you could have key dates in there. You could tell, when practice start, coach training, practice start, and game day might be a way to do that.
Yeah. So. Also, you could put it after the parent registers. It could be part of the email, Davey, that they get. That's something I would recommend. I think that's good. A couple other questions. Do you recommend having a different rookie coach training day versus a veteran coach training day? I know you hit on it, breaking them up into breakouts, but what are your thoughts on having different days?
Yeah, great idea. The advantage of having everybody together is some of your experienced coaches get to share some knowledge with rookie coaches, and it's a different perspective. Like the rookie coach will hear from somebody who is his peer and go, oh yeah, great. Sometimes more than they will hear things from a league director. So I think having them together is good, but of course, yeah, if you have some rookie coaches that you want to set aside and spend more time with, yeah, that's a good idea.
There's some ideas in here too, Joel. Somebody says having partners to assist in shadowing is another great way. I think that's a good one. Let's answer maybe 3 more. It says, with the email communication, currently it's flagged as spam. How can we go around this to keep communication with our coaches and families?
Yeah, that's a tough one because it depends on the recipient a lot of times receiving the email. And so, depending on their email service, some of them automatically flag anything with an attachment. I've noticed in my Outlook account, it'll pop up a message that'll say,
Me too.
this is an unknown sender. So, I think a good way to do that is just to double check if you find that that's happening. Have a conversation with that coach or have them talk to their parents at practice and say, hey, this week just check your spam folder real quick, make sure it hasn't gone there. So yeah, it's unfortunate some services will flag that as spam.
Yeah. 3 more. If coaches enter player jersey numbers, will that carry into my upward? So league directors will have access to that information.
Yeah. Great question. And yes, it does flow in there in the report section in my Upward. In the report section, you'll go in there and under participants and teams, there's a participant intros report. And if you have your coaches, like we demonstrated a minute ago in the coach app, if you have your coaches put those jersey numbers in at the first practice, when you then pull up your participant intro report for game 1, that number is going to be, those numbers are going to be in there for you.
2 more, Joel. I know you're
We're good.
We've been asking you a bunch of questions. How do you handle assistant coach versus head coach? Example, your church members or other church members or non-church attendees, people that you don't know. How do you handle who's the coach versus the head coach, assistant coach?
Yeah, great question. I think number one, you have to get to know the person that you want to be head coach. If there's a question about it, the important piece is people are applying to coach, so not everybody may get to do it. And what I've heard from churches is that, hey, we want people that we know that attend a church. So 52% of those coaches are coming from your community. You've got another 25% that are coming from your church usually. And then you've got another 25% who have no church affiliation. So you have to balance those out. So really good rule is that I've seen leagues do. They're either attending a church in the community or I know their spiritual background. They're a head coach, and then other people are assistant coaches. You can have coaches serve in any capacity as long as you've probably done a background check. I think that's important. And that if it's somebody you don't know, that you take the extra time to have a conversation with them.
Absolutely. This is not really a question. I missed one, Joel. It says, should coach and referee training be together? I think that's great. Or
really
should it be
good
separate?
question.
That's a great question.
The answer is yes. Like it can be either one. So great thing about having coaches together with referees is that they're hearing the same thing at the same time. It creates an opportunity for coaches to get to see that referees are on their team. Remember, we go back to this is a sport is a competitive environment that all of the coaches and referees are working on the same team to help the players have fun and learn the game and learn about Jesus. And so, yeah, you can have them together. It really just depended on what you want to do, or you could have the two separate. Having them together creates a really unique opportunity for them to get to know each other. So that's a good idea.
I prefer together. The reason I do is because sometimes your coaches might slip over and be referees as well. So it doesn't, they can go together.
Really
Kevin Ackerman, I do see you submitted to me some suggested feedback. So I will give that to Joel when we're off here for feedback. So thanks for sending that. And then I do see, it looks like somebody asked, is rallies coming back for regional networking for all? Great question. We can't tell y'all for sure the answer on that, but I do know we have some exciting things that are coming up in 2024 around something similar to rally. So I'm letting that out. So stay tuned. That'll be exciting. A couple other things. Somebody says Ministry Safe is really good. That's our partner for background checks. I love that. Also, Davey added something here I think is great. Have a QR code at evals for volunteers on the spot. You can say, grab your phone, scan, fill it out, That way it doesn't stop them in the process where they have to fill out paper copy. Great,
Yep.
great advice. We love learning
Good
from
point.
you guys. All right, that brings us to the end. I hope you guys find these episodes helpful. We have 2 more episodes. Our next one is exciting too. It's episode 3, and we're going to talk about leveraging your sports outreach, and that is on November 1st, 1 o'clock on Wednesday. We're going to talk about all of the Upward Sports ministry resources. We have a lot of them. We have new follow-up guides. We have a whole lot. So we will showcase some of those to you. And our guest will be Ron Daniels. He's a ministry consultant here. He's our expert. So I'm excited to walk through that with you. So when you get your email from this, make sure you go ahead and save your spot and register. All right. So our live giveaway today, we said, was the $450 coach and referee virtual customized training. And let's see who that is. Let me go spin my wheel here. And it says it is David Bivens, Second Baptist Church in Greenville, Kentucky. David Bivens, Second Baptist Church, Greenville, Kentucky. You are our lucky winner today. So I will be in contact with you today or tomorrow, and we will talk about getting this coach training underway for you. So if you've joined us today or you're listening later on, I hope you find these episodes beneficial to you. I hope that you see that these are ways that help you reach families in your community for the purpose of sharing the gospel. Joel, thank you so much for being our expert, and thank you so much. I'm going to close us in prayer, and then, guys, I hope you have a great afternoon. Dear Lord, I just thank you for today. Lord, we thank you for the opportunity to share who you are to our communities around the country. Lord, I thank you for Joel and his expert knowledge in all the market research he does to provide resources that support our coaches. Lord, coaches are so important. They are the lifeline to the family. And so, Lord, I pray for coaches all around the communities and our cities, Lord, this year as they are getting ready for basketball. Lord, some are in soccer and flag football right now and volleyball. So, Lord, I pray for each coach as they're on the front lines. And Lord, may they be renewed in their calling. And Lord, as league directors, Lord, may we inspire them in all they do. We love you, Lord. Amen. Thank you so much, guys. And I hope you have a great afternoon. See you soon.